What's happening, Jets fans? It's good to, oh my God, it's so great. Look at us. All kinds of almost stuff happening, right? All kinds of almost stuff happening for you, for me, amazeballs. What's up? This is Green Bean, and you are now watching GreenBean's Jets Pod, episode 109. 109 weeks of this. I love it. I can't tell you how grateful I am that I get to do this with you. That's how I look at it, guys. I am fortunate enough to do this with you. It's being serious. I don't take it for granted, man. That's not me. This is fun. It's the craziest thing in the world. I love it. I'm tickled. When I have a live stream, you guys stop by, you say hello, we talk, we fight, we cry, we laugh. It's amazing. It's amazing. So thank you. Now, guys, before we get started, we have a whole bunch of stuff. We're going to talk about Aaron Rodgers. Imagine that. We're not going to talk about Derek Carr or Jimmy G, though. Oh, maybe a little. Just a little bit, just for reference points. But I promise I won't deconstruct anything about them. We have a whole mess of free agent signings. We're also going to look at the AFC East and what they're doing. The AFC East teams are doing stuff. We got new guys coming in. We got people shuffling teams. Players over here, now they're over there. We got players that were here, now they're over there. And then that guy was over there, now he's over here. It's all kinds of stuff. Let's take a look and see what our AFC East rivals are doing. That's important, man. We like to think, oh, we're so much better. Yeah, well, how did they do? Did they get better too? Because if they got the equal amount better that we did and they're already better than us, then it's going to be tough. So we'll talk about that. We'll talk about our guys. We'll talk about their guys. We're going to look around, talk about Joe Douglas a little bit. We're going to break down Joe Douglas. And we'll see. Do we like this guy or what? Do we like him? Do we trust him? It's a better way to say it. In JD, I trust? Do I? Do I, or am I all freaked out? Where do I stand? Maybe we'll talk about Zach Wilson. I don't think so. Why, do you want to talk about Zach? Well, I don't want to talk about Zach Wilson. Do you? Not that I don't love him. Hey, man, I'm throwing love and flowers towards Zach Wilson. Ain't no reason to talk about him today, right? I don't think so. Maybe. We'll see. Either way, guys, it's great to be here. Episode 109. Now, we're going to get started with our player profile for episode 109. But before we do, I would just like to remind you of a couple of things. One is, if you haven't subscribed to this channel, hey, it's the only way that we can grow. It's greatly appreciated. And I ask you, please, just consider, take a second, hit that subscribe button. It is appreciated, like I said. The other thing is, hey, don't leave here without the milk thumbs. You got to hit that thumbs up button. It's YouTube etiquette. It's what we do. When I watch a Ancient Aliens video, I hit thumbs up. When I watch some sort of Will Smith versus Jada Pinkett, I hit a thumbs up. Why? Because that's how the YouTube algorithm works, and it's greatly appreciated. It's etiquette. It's YouTube. You know what I mean? When in Rome, when on YouTube, milk thumbs. That's what we got to do. And the other thing, guys, look, if you're looking for in-depth stuff, private access, slow it down, more ability to talk, ask questions, listen, the Beanbaggers are the way to go. The Beanbaggers is our private little group that we get together weekly, if not daily. The guys and girls are in there every single day in our Discord server, talking Jets, sharing different things, helping each other. It's an amazing group of people that have become very, very close. But every week we're doing positional breakdowns before the draft. We do monthly classic game watch parties, all sorts of early release stuff that you guys get access to. It helps the channel a great deal. And you get a whole bunch of fun stuff. The link to join the Beanbaggers is in the description of this video. Below the video, there's a little blurb, and then it says show more. Hit show more, and you'll see. Join the Beanbaggers. Come on in. It's great in here. We love it, and we'd love to have you. Come on down, baby. Guys, we're at episode 109, and that means we're going to use the number 9 to talk about a player that is of interest to you. Now, sometimes maybe we'll talk about a classic player, somebody who used to wear it, a great per se. Like we can't get to episode 112 and talk about anybody new. Maybe we can this year, but we generally speaking can't do that. We got to talk about one guy. This week is not that way. We get to talk about a player of high interest, actually. Quite frankly, this might be a player that you are most interested in. Number 9 last year. No, it's not a kicker. It's not a backup quarterback because the NFL's weird these days. Is a linebacker wearing the number 9 named Quan Alexander, a guy who is currently a free agent that we found late in the free agent game last year. He was like hanging around out there. We dragged our feet. We waited some time, and we got Quan Alexander for $1.272 million. Now, the thing with Quan Alexander, nobody anywhere is going to say he's a bad football player. It's quite the opposite. He's a very good football player. The problem with Quan Alexander has always been his injury history. I mean, he makes it through very few seasons all the way from beginning to end. As a matter of fact, the only full season he's ever had was back in 2016. Now, look, there's an interesting thing with Quan because while we got him for super cheap, I think he's out there trying to get, what might be his last payday this year. So getting him at $1.272 million doesn't seem realistic this year. He wants to try to get this. So he's coming around the mountain toward the end of his career. He can still play at a high level, but this is probably going to be one of, if not the last payday of his career. So, look, what are we talking about? Quan Alexander, he's a linebacker. Like I said, he's 6'1", 227 pounds, originally out of LSU. He's currently 28 years old, and he's entering his 9th season. 9 seasons for a linebacker. Very, very good, right? We know that. Not everybody's career lasts this long. Now, interestingly, he played all season for us. He made it through the entire season for the New York Jets. So like I said, the previous full season that he had was only in 2016. And then all of a sudden he comes here to a notoriously injured team, and he makes it through the whole season. Well, what happened there? Well, it's something that the Jets did with him that most other teams have never even considered. Quan Alexander has played 70% or more of the defensive snaps every single year, at least for the games that he was in. Most years, high 90s, 95, 98, 97, those kinds of percentages. But he never makes it. So the Jets, guess what the Jets did last year? The Jets played Quan Alexander 48% of the snaps. And he made it. He made it all the way through. And with that 48%, when he came in, he was fresh. He had strong legs. He was fast. He was mean. And he was able to have a really strong impact on our defense last year, maybe even more so than a lot of people expected, especially when you consider his contract. So what do his stats look like? Well, he had 69 tackles, 42 of which were solo. He had 6 tackles for a loss, a half sack, 1 pass defensed, 1 forced fumble, and 2 quarterback hits. He was blitzed 9 times. Now, here's the interesting thing with him. Now, he's considered pretty good in pass coverage. It's one of the weaknesses of our particular linebacking crew. We have all sorts of positives with our crew. Like Quincy Williams will literally knock your head off if somebody let him. He would do it. He comes in like a heat-seeking missile. He's a thumper in the run game. Problem is he has weaknesses in the pass coverage area. Same thing with CJ Mosley. Not terrible at it, but he's much, much better just laying the wood to a running back or once somebody has the ball in their hand. Now, Quan Alexander was targeted 44 times last year. 31 of those times, the completion was made. Now, listen to this interesting stat. It's 70% of the targets got into the hands of the intended receiver. And it was a total of 303 yards gained on those 31 catches. But 224 of the 300 yards were yards after the catch. So what does that mean? So 79 was just catch, done. 224 of the 300 yards was yards after the catch. So what does that mean? It means that Quan Alexander, when he's targeted, he's kind of taking a second to get his guy down. He's lagging behind. He's trying to play catch up, those types of things. The average completion against Quan Alexander went for 9.8 yards. So that's enough for a first down. So while he has just uber positives that he can add to the defense, this is not exactly an area of strength anymore. And this is what you see happen when guys start getting 7, 8, 9, 10 years. Very few linebackers in particular don't lose a step in this aspect of their game. It's happening for Quan Alexander. Now, it doesn't mean he's not effective. 13 of those passes that were thrown, he did not go for completions. The other time, 79 yards, he was able to grab him and just slam him right to the ground. And 300 yards isn't the end of the world. But again, it's something worth factoring in when you're wondering, do I want to pay this guy $3 million, $5 million? What's he asking for? Nobody knows. The interesting thing is that nobody's given him a contract just yet, so more than likely he's asking for a bit more than teams are willing to pony up for a guy who's not able to be a full-time linebacker. He's not able to come in and play 85% of your snaps, 92% of your snaps. If he does, just looking at the past, when he was younger, he doesn't make it through the season, and what good is that? You play him 48% like the Jets had, he can have a really nice impact, and he can make it through the whole season. Now, we don't know where this will go, but I think a lot of Jets fans would really like to see him back, and I think Robert Saleh would love to see his linebacking core intact. Jamian Sherwood's still here. He can get increased roles. Quincy Williams was re-signed. C.J. Mosley is currently under contract. We don't know what's going to happen with that because he's making a whole mess of money, man. And the $21 million ain't gonna fly, in my opinion. Who knows? But we'd like to see as many return players as you can. Saleh said he'd really prefer about 90%. And we already lost guys like Rankins and Shepard. So the more players that we can keep together, the better. So we'll see how this offseason goes with Quan Alexander. I think he was pleasantly surprising for us. Had his negatives, but I think the positives outweigh the negatives, especially for that $1.272 million contract that we had him. I think he exceeded that. So let's see where it goes. I'm rooting for Quan to be brought back. I just don't want to see the Jets, occupy too much of their cap with him, but maybe $2.344 million. What do you think of that number, huh? I made it up. Yes, I did. I think it's good, though. So let's see. Quan Alexander, our player profile of the episode 109 of GreenBean's Jets Pod. So look, we all know what we have to talk about. We got to talk about the big thing, right? We have to do it. I mean, it's impossible. Can I really make an episode during this particular period in Jets offseason history and not mention the big thing? Of course not. So let's get into it in this week's News of the Week. All right, so what is the big thing? Well, of course, it's Wes Schneitzer or Schweitzer. No, it's Aaron Rodgers. We're going to talk about Wes just a little bit later, but we got to get into this Aaron Rodgers thing. Guys, isn't it just the jetsiest thing in the entire world that before any quarterbacks are taken or anything, most pundits are saying, hey, when you really look at it objectively, the Jets are probably the most attractive landing spot for any of these free agent or available via trade quarterbacks, whether that's Aaron Rodgers, Derek Carr, Jimmy G, Gardner Minshew, Jacoby Brissett, whoever it is, Baker Mayfield, Sammy Boy Darnold. The Jets have a lot of what you're looking for when you're a quarterback who's going to leave your team and look at the next place that you want to play. We're up there. Number one, number two landing spot for most quarterbacks. Now, we're wondering what we're going to do. We have Derek Carr in for a visit. There it is. I mentioned him. Yay! Hey, Derek Carr's in for a visit. We take him out to get a pappardelle bolognese, a little bit of that. And he gets signed by the New Orleans Saints. So what does that mean? In my opinion, it means the Jets said, hey, we're getting some positive vibes over here. We're going to move over here with our number one. We're not going to sign you. So all the best. Good luck. Great visit. Happy trails, whatever. So the Jets get permission to go speak with Aaron Rodgers. So they fly over there to California. They have a little dinner, a little this, dancing, drinks, whatever they did. And comes out a few days after that, after Jets fans freak out and everything, that Aaron Rodgers has given the Jets a wish list of players, a demand list of demands of players and all that jazz. And then, the Monday comes, the 13th of March, which is the negotiation window, and Jets fans are going nuts. We're all, wait, when is it happening? We're all live. We're winning any minute. We don't find out anything until Wednesday, which is the first official day of free agency. Aaron Rodgers goes on the Pat McAfee show, and he announces in just beautiful, eloquent fashion, my intention is to play, and I intend to play for the New York Jets. We collectively, yay! Well, not me. I was literally in a friggin' dentist chair while that was happening. That's what happens. You make an appointment 6 months in advance. It ends up being when Aaron Rodgers is on Pat McAfee. That's how it goes. So don't make appointments to the dentist 6 months in advance. That's all I have to say. That's all I got to tell you. So I'm in the dentist chair, but when I come out, everybody, O'Leary, Ryan, everybody's nuts. Yay! Oh my God, I can't believe it's real. It's going to be the best. We're all happy because he said it. Now, he also says something that kind of shook the world a little bit. We all think we're waiting for Aaron Rodgers. That's what we think. We're waiting for, Mr. Take Your Time to, get off his ass and make a decision. He says, hey, I let them know on Friday that that's what my intentions were. Here we are on Wednesday, and it's the Green Bay Packers. The Green Bay Packers have basically reneged on their agreement, their handshake, and said, you know what, on second thought, we want a whole lot more capital than we were willing to give or willing to accept just a few days ago. So, and they're sticking this, folks. That's what they are in the whole agreement. So the Jets and their fans, we all get this great news, about as good of news as you could hope, because look, Derek Carr got signed, Jimmy G got signed, and fucking everybody got signed. I mean, even Dalton signed, everybody. We got Carson Wentz out there, there's a few dudes. Mariota got signed, yeesh. So here we are. And if Aaron Rodgers said, I'm going to retire, we're screwed. Now, I do believe the Jets had at least a very good idea that wasn't going to happen before they kind of pulled the offer, or the interest in Derek Carr. So that all is what it is. But here we are. We get this great news, and nothing's happened. This is almost a week later, guys. This is almost a week later, and we still don't know what the hell's happening. We don't know the compensation. We don't even know if it will happen. While it's likely to happen, we don't know. Anything could fall apart. I mean, Green Bay already reneged. They already changed their mind. Who the hell knows? So we get this great news, but we don't get shit. We don't have anything. We get great news and we don't get a damn thing. That is Jets. That's the difference between us and every other, ailing fan base in the world. Whenever you say, oh yeah, try being a Lions fan. Yeah, buddy, try being a Jets fan. When's the last time you had even this? When's the last time your team made an agreement? You were going to trade for a guy and it took this, you made the agreement, everything's good, and it still didn't happen. You still didn't get him. It didn't happen with Stafford and Goff. No, it happens to us. That's the Jets. So going into this week, we have to just hope that it happens, right? We have to hope that it happens. Hopefully by the time you're watching this, you're already saying, why is this guy talking about this? This is old news, baby. That's what I hope. I really do. Not for the podcast's purposes, but for our purposes. So we have to wait and see, man. Now, there's all kinds of leverage this, leverage that. We don't know who has the real leverage. All we know is that if Joe Douglas were to get pushed around, fleeced in any way, cave, it would be the first time. So we have a pretty good track record with this general manager. Like him or not, it's hard to deny that where trades are concerned, the guy has come up on top, right? He's come out on top pretty much every single time. I mean, name a trade that we didn't come out on top where the trade actually happened, right? It's just so if it happens, right? You know, what we got to give a first, we got to give 2 firsts, we got to give a conditional. Whatever it ends up being, I think the most important thing is that we get Aaron Rodgers. That's the most important thing. Obviously, you want to give as little as you can. Throw in Corey Davis, throw in Tanzel Smart, right? You know what I mean? Isaiah Dunn, I know he's not even with us. You go sign Isaiah Dunn, you send him over there. All kinds of fun guys. You send them all over there. Bryce Hall, right? Not Brees, calm down. Bryce, and I love Bryce Hall, but hey, he's valuable. Send them all over there, give them some dudes to work with, and then give them a pick, and it's all good. So look, let's see how it goes. Any day now, everybody, let's see how it goes. But Aaron Rodgers, it looks like he's going to be our quarterback, and that alone is pretty interesting news, is it not? A little different than last year. Joe Flacco and Zachy Poo Wilson, you know what I mean? A little different. So that'll be exciting. Now, look, in addition to that, we lost some players, man. We lost Nate Herbig, who we all really were impressed with. He was a backup that we signed from the Eagles, and he was the guy that allowed us to let Greg Van Roten go. Having Nate Herbig allowed Greg Van Roten to be released because now we had AVT and Laken Tomlinson at the starting spots, and we needed some good depth. We had Feeney on the roster, and we grabbed Nate Herbig, and Nate Herbig ended up starting, you know, when we were moving AVT all over the place. So losing him, it's understandable. He wants an opportunity to be the starter. He gets that over in Pittsburgh, makes $4 million a year, but he gets the opportunity to be a starter. And that's where the career can really take off. Here, he's got to hope AVT or Laken Tomlinson get hurt. That's what he's got to hope for, you know, in order to be a starter. And hey, so we lose Nate Herbig. We also lose the mullet Dan Feeney to the Miami Dolphins. We lose Braxton Berrios. I mean, we cut Braxton Berrios, but still sucks that he went down to Miami. We lost Mike White. We lost Sheldon Rankins. We lost Nathan Shepard. Lost all kinds of fun people. And we also lost running back James Robinson, who, I got to be honest, I thought we were probably going to consider keeping. Nope, right away, out. He goes up to the Patriots, another division guy. And then we lost Jeff Smith. Jeff Smith went and signed with the Crosstown Giants. So not the most painful moves in the world, but still, these guys have been around for a minute. For a team like the Jets, who, look, we haven't been able to keep too much of the core around for too long. So, like, you know, guys like Berrios, 4 years, the mullet, he's going into his 3 year, and, you know, on and on and on. It's tough to lose some of these guys. Nathan Shepard was one of the longest tenured Jets. I mean, he came here with McCagnon. It's one of the lone McCagnon picks. You know, I think Quinnen's the only one left. We got rid of Herndon and Chuma last year, so it's pretty much Quinnen. I think Wesco, they all went last year. So, you know, he's been around a minute. So, you know, while it's not like we can't replace these guys or even upgrade, it's still interesting. And, you know, could be tough to lose the players that have been here the longest. So we end up replacing a few of them. Now, I'll give you our rundown. What we've done so far is we signed Alan Lazard from the Green Bay Packers. And that's a good one, man. It's one of the people that were reported to be on Aaron Rodgers' list. Now, he says that there was no lists. He said they just discussed players. But no matter how you slice it, Lazard and Rodgers have a comfort level. He's been with Rodgers his whole career, Lazard, that is. And look, he's a 6'5", 230-pound dude. And he lays the wood, great blocker, nice range, can box out cornerback. Like, he's a very, very valuable piece. Now, with the Packers, Lazard was wide receiver 1. With the Jets, Lazard is, at best, wide receiver 2. More than likely, wide receiver 3-esque, 4-ish. So that's the thing. Having that kind of talent for wide receiver 3 is a whole different bag of tricks than being the guy that you depend on to be wide receiver 1. He's not a wide receiver 1, but he has a whole bunch to offer you, and it's a very, very good signing in my opinion. We also re-signed Solomon Thomas, linebacker Quincy Williams, and kicker Greg Zuerlein, which is nice and interesting, huh? Hey, well, all right, we got ourselves our kicker is back. Got Quinnen's brother, and he's been here now. He's going into his third year with us, Quincy Williams, and we re-signed Solomon Thomas for his second year. I feel like that one might have been a little bit of a panic signing. You know what I mean? That's what I feel. It is what it is. Got to keep some semblance of continuity on the defensive line. But we went out and we signed 2 offensive linemen. This is where it gets interesting. Wes Schweitzer is from the Commanders. He's 29 years old, going into his 7th season in the NFL, 3 each with Atlanta and Washington. He was a 6th-round pick back in 2016, right on. Now, last year, he played 7 games, and in those 7 games, he played 82% of the snaps. The last 2 years, he's been banged up, though. That's the truth with him. He hasn't been all that healthy. Now, as a depth piece, I think he's a pretty strong candidate, at least Dan Feeney. And I think that's more of who we should look as this particular player replacing. He's the Dan Feeney replacement. He's got that versatility. He can play center. He can play guard, just like Dan Feeney. And I think that he might be a little bit of an upgrade over Feeney. Maybe not, but it looks like he might be. He only had 1 penalty last year, but most years he has at least 4, 5, 6 at times. So he's not the most penalized guy in the world, but he's not the least penalized guy in the world. So again, 29-year-old interior offensive lineman, I think is a solid signing. Doesn't mean we're done. Doesn't mean we can't add or whatever, but he's here, and I think that's a positive move. We follow that with another guy, Tristan Colon Castillo from the Baltimore Ravens. Now, a lot of people like this one, partially because he's a little bit more of a center, and I think that's good as well. But to be honest about him, when you really dig into his NFL career, he's kind of been that last guy on the roster kind of thing. You know, he's cut. Soon as they need a spot, they cut him, then they re-sign him, then they cut him, then they re-sign him. He was on the practice squad for the majority of 2020. He came in and played in 2021 a few games, and he's kind of been, again, just bottom end of the roster. He did end up having to start a couple of games in 2020, and in total, in his 3-year career, he's played 20 games, played in 20 games, didn't start for those 20 games. So he's a 6'3", 313-pound interior offensive lineman with a tilt toward the center position. So again, depth. Look, he might be a guy that you end up finding out won't make the roster. It could very well be that, but at least he's here, right? So the Jets are going out there. They're just plugging in the depth pieces, which is important. You need it. We just lost depth. You got to bring depth in. And I don't think they touch Herbig, either one of them. I don't think either one has the upside of Nate Herbig. But again, I think they're positive signings, but this cannot be done. We cannot think, all right, well, we did it. Our offensive line's ready to go. If we do that, it's a huge mistake. But no matter how you slice it, they're both solid signings, and we'll see how they go. We'll see what else the Jets do. There's rumors about certain, maybe a little Ben Jones action, maybe some interest in some centers in the draft. And that would be, in my opinion, the best way to go. All right, we got some backup guys. You want to bring in, another vet, fine. But let's go in the draft and get one of these top 3-round guys. I wouldn't wait till past the 3rd round. In my opinion, I would be great. If we keep 13 and we're able to bounce back to the 20s, go ahead and take Schmitz. Just do it. Just grab the best center in the draft. Do it. Do it. There's nothing wrong with it. Joe Douglas hasn't done that yet. Do it. And then with your 2nd round pick, take a tackle. It's fine. There's going to be all kinds of fun tackles there in the 2nd round. Go ahead and grab your center. But we'll see. We'll see how it goes. Now, as far as the AFC East, what the hell are they doing? What is the AFC East doing? Well, there's a lot of moving and shaking, man. There's guys going all over the place. Now, the Patriots, start with them. They're the guys that signed New York Jets running back James Robinson. Now, Robinson kind of got a raw deal with us. They had that limit on on his yards, and it would have gone to a 5th-round pick instead of a 6th-round pick. And I still think LaFleur, he had like 300 yards left. LaFleur could have absolutely utilized him more, especially in goal line situations. In particular, the friggin' Vikings game, we're on the half-inch line or whatever. James Robinson would have got the ball in, no doubt in my mind. Well, we didn't do it. Now he's up there with the Patriots. They also signed Juju Smith-Schuster, man. He replaces Jacoby Myers, it looks like. And that's a very, very strong move. They also went to Miami and plucked Mike Gesicki, the tight end. So now look, out of those top 3 free agents that they got, 2 of them are AFC East guys. So taking Mike Gesicki from the Dolphins, that's good. We don't have to see him down there, but now we got to see him in the Patriots. Jonnu Smith didn't work out for them, it looks like. So Mike Gesicki, who is a pass catching threat, is now with New England. So they got Bill O'Brien back. They got some weapons. Robinson, Juju Smith-Schuster, and Gesicki could be spooky up there in New England. You don't ever want to write them off, man. And we couldn't choke them out last year. So this year we got to make sure that we're paying attention to these guys. They also got, they re-signed their guard. They re-signed a tackle. They brought in Riley Rife from the Bears. Who else they signed? And they re-signed a few guys, linebackers, and so they re-signed a couple linebackers. So similar kind of moves to us, in my opinion. They might be a little bit stronger, except for Lazard. I really do like the Lazard signing, but New England Patriots, they're moving. They're moving now. The Dolphins, the Miami Jets down there, they signed 3 of our guys. Now, the mullet, Braxton Berrios, and quarterback Mike White. Now, hey, you can't love Mike effing White and then he goes to Miami and say, he sucks. You can't do that. Mike White's a good quarterback. And for someone, who might end up playing down there with the concussion thing with Tua, look, let's all hope Tua never has another concussion, right? That's what we're rooting for with the poor guy. But if he does, Mike White is a more than capable quarterback to come in and make some teams look stupid. He knows how to do it. Problem with Mike White is he's also injury prone, which I think is probably why we weren't all that aggressive to bringing him back. He signs a 2-year deal with the Dolphins. Now, they also brought in, they re-signed running backs Mostert and Gaskin. They brought those guys back. They re-signed Jeff Wilson as well. So they re-signed their running back core, which is solid. Again, they brought in back Braxton Berrios. They signed a couple linebackers, David Long and Duke Riley. They re-signed cornerback Nick Needham, but they traded for Jalen Ramsey. Hey, man, yes, he's a little bit older and all that, but let's just be real here. Jalen Ramsey is a stud. You brought in Bradley Chubb last year. You bring in Ramsey this year. That you pair him with Xavier Howard. Dude, they're formidable. They got it. They got something going on. Now, Garrett Wilson's going to make all of them look stupid, so it's going to be fun to watch. But let's make no mistake. These guys are improved. They also went out there and signed punter Jake Bailey. Wiggly diggly ding dong. That's what they did there. Now we got the Buffalo Bills. I think the biggest moves for the Bills, they were able to re-sign Matt Milano and safety Jordan Poyer. I was absolutely convinced that Poyer was a goner. Now they lost some guys as well. They lost some mainstays there, but they were able to re-sign 2 key pieces that have been a part of that team for a while now. And Matt Milano, I think he's a serious piece, and as is Poyer. But so they went out and got guard Connor McGovern, not our Connor McGovern, believe it or not. They grabbed the one from Dallas, who was a guy I was screaming for in the draft a few years back. So they brought him in. They also re-signed linebacker Tyler Matakovich, and they brought in quarterback Kyle Allen, wide receiver Deontay Hardy. And Buffalo's kind of doing a good job of rounding it all out. They also brought in a punter, Sam Martin. Well, he's their punter, but he brought him back in. They said, hello, how you doing? Sign this. So they were able to do that. Everybody's doing punter stuff. Did I mention that the Jets brought back Morstead. We brought back Morstead, and now it looks like Joe Douglas is trying to work a trade for punter Braden Mann. Wouldn't that be something if he can figure out a way to get a pick for punter Braden Mann? So there it is, guys. That's kind of what we're looking at. This is going to be a big week, in my opinion. I think that a lot, the guys that are holding out there for a little bit more, they're starting to see where their market really is. We may re-sign guys, maybe Connor McGovern. We might see some guys drop their price a little bit into our range. We can bring them in. Calais Campbell, some guys like that. Who knows? Keep an eye. It's going to be a big week, led by Aaron Rodgers. We got to get this friggin' guy on the team already, and I think it'll happen this week. But no matter what, the Jets are moving. It's not quite like other years, but we're moving nonetheless, and that is the news of the week. So Jets fans, look, we have these conversations going on out there, right? Are we good? Are we bad? Is it a fraud? Is it an illusion? Is it worth it? Why are we selling the farm? We built it the right way. Now we're kind of throwing caution to the wind and going all in. Where do we stand? Well, let's take a look at that, and if it's a positive or negative, in this week's Intelligent Gripe. Joe Douglas, a relatively polarizing figure in Jets fandom right about now. Look, he's our general manager. He's been here. This will be going into his fourth draft, right? This is his fourth NFL draft, and we're starting to see what a Joe Douglas team looks like. Very few people that were here when he got here. This is Joe Douglas's team, and we're able to really take a look and see what it is that this guy likes. Remember, the first year he's drafting for a different coaching staff, and not for nothing, it was his first year. He's learning, right? He's got to figure this stuff out. Well, we're getting a lot of those guys back. Guys like Mekhi Becton, Denzel Mims, right? Maybe even Ashton Davis finds a way to get an increased role. We don't know. But we're going to see. Those are potential hidden gems that could really have an impact this year. But we're going into this season and we're looking at some things. Joe Douglas has built a team through the draft, again, using placeholder free agents while he utilized the assets that he created. I got into a discussion earlier. Somebody said, well, who the hell can't find a gem with 3 first-round picks? He's fucking got a luxury of 3 first-round picks. Well, I gotta say, hold your horses there. It wasn't a luxury. He wasn't gifted those 3 first-round picks. He worked his ass off for those 3 first-round picks. Matter of fact, he worked his ass off for the 2 first-round picks the year before, and the 2 seconds, and the 2 fourths, and the this and that. He's made all of this possible. So, again, you can look at the 2020 draft class and you can have a problem with it. Hey, if Mekhi Becton and Denzel Mims come back with this new coaching staff on the offensive side of the ball, end up doing anything, it's all moot. It's all moot. It's a great draft class. Who knows? It's not looking great, but it could be. We have a lot of potential still there in the bag. Mekhi Becton's 23 years old. So who knows? He looks great. Let's just root for him and hope for the best. When you look at the last 2 draft classes, Joe Douglas flipped guys that he knew were never going to be pillars of this organization moving forward for draft assets, and it takes time to, number 1, use draft assets, number 2, develop and build draft assets to being, contributors, right? Especially when you get past the first or second round even. So guys like Elijah Moore, guys like AVT, Michael Carter, even Breece Hall. Some of these guys had injuries, whatever. Getting all these guys back and seeing what we can do with them is going to be really, really important. But let's make no mistake. The Sauce Gardner, Garrett Wilson, Jermaine Johnson first round, that doesn't exist. In the normal paradigm of just Jets drafting history. Doesn't happen. Joe Douglas made that happen. Now, again, like I talked about earlier with the Kirk Cousins thing, the fact that we're even able to hear a sentence like, my intention is to play for the New York Jets from a quarterback of Aaron Rodgers' stature, it should tell you all that you need to know about where we are as an organization. We have tons of young talent. We have a whole different attitude and vibe around the organization. Now, granted, we lost a whole mess of games in a row at the end of last season. Really ruined any positive taste that we had in our mouth. That last few months of the season was terrible to watch. But again, those weren't blowouts. We're talking 6-1 score losses. Many games where the defense held the other team to 14 or less, sometimes a touchdown, sometimes no touchdowns. So this is the kind of stuff we're looking for, how we can push that team over the top. The rest of the team is built the right way. There's two ways to look at this. One is, hey, ride or die with the guys that you chose. Zach Wilson, continue to develop them, whoever else. Denzel Mims, Mekhi Becton, whatever it is. And the other way to look at this is, hey, acknowledging I have 80% of this team is intact and ready to go. I can either sit on it and just hope for the best and just keep adding new young talent, or I can do everything I can to maximize this potential and go for it. Just go for it. If I got to spend a little money, so I spend a little money. I got to give away a draft, so I give away a draft pick. I'm going for it. Now, I've had discussions with many of you on both sides of this thing, but here's what I'm going to say. It's my very firm belief that Joe Douglas being able to acknowledge, recognize, admit that, hey, that kid that I used a number 2 pick on, he's not developing in time. He's not going to make it. He's not going to make it. Everybody else is. The train is leaving the station. We got to get a new conductor. We have to. If this is going to succeed, we got to do it now. That humility, that ability to acknowledge it and move past it, recognize it, and adjust to it is really another huge positive for who and what this general manager really is. Joe Douglas, in my opinion, is proving yet again he's the best general manager that we've had in a long time. I don't know what the future holds. We could go 0-17 next year with Aaron Rodgers. I don't know. That said, it sure as hell doesn't look like it, and that is the intelligent gripe. Exciting times being a Jets fan. Guys, I don't know what the hell it all means half the time, but this is what I can tell you. I've had a great time chatting with you guys about it. Yeah, it's hard to be positive all the time. It is, man. It's hard to be positive. I mean, last year, as soon as we started getting positive, the friggin' bottom fell out on us. So it's hard. I know that. But this is fun. Let's go into the rest of this free agency season leading into the draft with nothing but hope. Let's see where this goes. Let's see if we can just kind of plug the final pieces. Let's get this team to a championship competitive team. And let's see. With that all said, I hope you have a great rest of the week. Enjoy the rest of your Monday or Tuesday or whenever you're watching this. I thank you for being here. Thanks for watching episode 109 of GreenBean's Jets Pod, the Monday Night Mock, tonight at 10 o'clock with our boy Dom C. Let's see what we can do with the draft picks. Have a great week, everybody. And as always, go Jets.